Yeah, so this is podcast number 10, I think.
Oh, is it recording?
Yes, it
Oh,
is.
wait, we're good. Okay. Podcast number 10.
We made it. A whole deuce. Wow. What are your thoughts so far about just, I don't know, this
Like everything?
this whole past year?
Honestly, I mean, it's been a year since you've graduated from Virginia Tech, and for me, it's been about half of that. So, I mean, we've definitely accomplished a lot within 1 year. I mean, you definitely have like with all like Bouras and.
Like, what do you define as like accomplishment?
Okay. Define accomplishment, I mean like just successfully gathering a group of people, like-minded individuals who share a commonality with you. And that's success in my opinion. That way we can work towards a goal that we all agree on. And that's what we're all doing here. I mean, this is why I'm here. This is why you're here. This is why our whole team is here, to develop this, to get this goal out, and to not manipulate society, but change it in a positive way.
Yeah. Do you think like all friendships could be used in this kind of way?
There's a saying where the best antiques are old friendships, and I think friendships are key to success. Because without friends, how could you get? How can you, like, you know? And see, this is perfect. This is kind of just transitions us back to college then. Okay, so okay. So we're back in, let's say, freshman year. Okay. So we're just done with freshman year. Okay. Yeah. And I had just made my transfer to Virginia Tech. And I was, and I remember when I was on my transition, I knew who you were. And I had seen you in certain parties and whatnot. And I remember I direct messaged you on Instagram on Bouras Fitness, and I was like, okay, dude, would you like to maybe get some like I saw that you're majoring in neuroscience, and I was like, that wasn't even an option for me, you know, because it was only biology
as a transfer.
Exactly. It wasn't an option. So I was like, okay, do you want to do some sort of because Virginia Tech is known for its research. So I remember I DM'd you, and I was like, hey, do you want to get into neuroscience research or something? And then you were all with it. You were definitely all with it. But then that's not where we bonded. I think where we bonded was during OChem. Yeah. And I never forget this. I was sleeping one day. It was it was 2 a.m, and I got a text from you, a random text. And think about this, I haven't really said much words to you or anything. Yeah. And you woke me up like, bro, I'm gonna kill this OChem test. I can't wait. I was like, bro, that's fucking great. We're not even in the same class. Jeez. Holy shit. Yeah. But then I was like, okay, but then that's when you appeared on my radar, and I was like, okay, this kid okay, this is good. Yeah. And then we were taking Berg together in OChem. Yeah, second semester. And I see Ahmad sitting on the other side, and I'm like, yo, wait, I know that kid as well. Let's go bring him. I mean, just imagine if I had not seen him. What if I just didn't see him? I feel like sooner or later I probably would have seen him, and he probably would have sat with us. But I saw him, and I brought him over to us. And that is when the pre-med gunner squad formed.
Was he in my OChem class that first semester? The whole semester, I had no idea.
Clayton.
I know, I was close with Clayton.
Okay.
But that's how I started coming over to your apartment.
Exactly.
You guys were roommates.
That's right.
And I would study with him.
That's right. And yeah. Oh man, Clayton. He's not even pre-med anymore.
He's not psychology?
No.
No.
I have no idea what Clayton's doing, man.
He'll figure it out.
He'll figure it out. He's a smart guy. But no, and then so that's when we got really close with Ahmed as well. I mean, Ahmed was and then Ahmed has changed so much though. From
I think we all have though.
I know.
In our own unique ways. He was such a unique character that seeing him break that mold and become more normal, like us.
Exactly.
It just it seems very shocking, which in reality it probably shouldn't have been.
Exactly. And see, this is the thing, and that's when we formed this alliance, because dude, it's just so ultra competitive. For anyone who's pre-med or anything, it's super I don't know. And
do you think you need that to kind of get by
drive as a drive?
Yeah, it seems like a lot of people in my classes they were friendly with one another, but a lot of them were not that close-knit squad that would hang out outside of class.
Exactly.
Do stuff beyond just studying.
And see, and that's the beauty of it, is that we did that, us three, we did that, and that's how we were able to, we got closer with one another, we felt more comfortable with one another, and that's why we were able to do things. It's hey dude, I'll do this if you do this, and then that's just how we did it. We all killed biochemistry because we had a game plan. We had a legit game plan. And then but going back into into OChem, we weren't we had our squad formed, but we were still almost competing with one another in a way. We weren't as solid as we were until we got into biochem.
I wish we did that during like even let's say high school, we formed that close group, and then come freshman year, we really had our goals aligned with everything.
Exactly. It would have been a lot
Because
easier.
biochem was easy mode at that
Exactly.
point. OChem needed to be easy, but Gen Chem, bro, that really hurt me.
Dude, and that's what sucks about it is like a lot of these like easy class. Okay, so like, dude, I never forget. I mean, we both got a C in a class that we shouldn't have gotten a C. I got a C in human sexuality. I mean, dude, I got an A in biochemistry. I got a C in human sexuality. Okay, I never forget this one time. I went up to the teacher. I was like, hey, so this answer could be like polygamy. It was, I don't even know what it was. It was like
there's no more
polymorph. I don't even know. I swear to God, I was like, it could be both of these.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, you're right. It could be. I'm like, but there's no answer to it. She's like, yeah, I know. I'm like,
yeah, dude. Teachers like that are so annoying.
I know, dude. It was crazy. And what was this? What was the class that you got?
Science and technology in modern society.
The guy rides his fucking bike.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. And like here I am actually like using science and technology in modern society.
Exactly. It's like you can just show him now.
Yeah,
right?
dude.
While he's riding his bike.
I don't know, bro. That was. I don't know. I keep on thinking back to freshman year. Like that transition from freshman year to sophomore year was honestly like I feel like a completely different person.
Yeah, 100%.
I don't know where my mind was.
Yeah.
Even before I started texting you about, I'm gonna kill this OChem test.
Yeah.
I don't think I was even focused on school like whatsoever.
Well,
I think I was really trying to focus on like finding my solid like social group and like my support network.
You were rushing as well. You were rushing your sophomore year.
Yeah. I was pledging everything.
Yeah, exactly. You were pledging. Yeah.
But even before that, like I had my friends from high school and everything, but I felt the need to expand beyond that.
Exactly.
That was pretty clear between the three of us that were from high school.
Exactly, yeah.
But trying to do that almost felt like a prerequisite before actually being able to focus on my school and like everything like that, because I understand the importance of finding that time to relax and like kind of let loose with your friends.
Right.
That was something I had throughout high school. And I really do think that would kind of led me to be able to like enter some kind of flow state with school where I wasn't even like really trying that hard.
So where you were like
I was able to
succeed with social life and academics.
Yeah,
exactly.
But like for me, that social group in high school formed way back in like elementary school before I even like was consciously aware of like myself.
Right.
So I had that social group, and then school was always on top of that. So come college, when I had to start like pretty much like a clean slate with my social group, that's where I really kind of put the school to the side.
Okay.
It almost seems like it would be cool if we had like an on-ramping of a social group going into college, aside from like some initiation or not like I don't know, we had like one day where we met some people that are also like incoming freshmen, but something like that would be useful.
So and that's what it all is all about, like just finding that balance between your like education and your social life. And that's what we were able to do. That's what we were able to do with our group of three, is that we were able to find that. I mean, we had so much fun. I mean, obviously, like, I mean, we smoked weed before class, and I mean, dude, smoking weed before that drug chem class. Okay, dude, that, I mean, when you were texting that in the group chat about like your top moments, so 3 of the moments that you said were obviously my top moments, and that was one of the strangest moments. When we were walking, we were blazed up as it is, and we see a couple that's literally fucking in the open, and I'm just like, yo, what? And she was like, yo, and I was like, wait, I'll just say yo. And I'm like, oh my God. And then it's funny because you say that, you said that, why don't you just go to like
the hotel?
No, dude,
it's right next to a hotel.
Dude, that was like, what is it called? It's what's it called? Like it's an affair. I think that was an affair. Because like they were being so nonchalant about it. Like they were like in the woods, which is weird.
They didn't even check their backs.
Exactly.
It's funny because I knew that spot because back in freshman year, that's where I used to go to kind of like do my thing. You know, I would take a bus out to there. There used to be like full on trees, but eventually those trees kind of died.
Right.
And that's where we found that path that we were on.
Right. Okay.
And ultimately solved it. So I had connection to that point, like that exact spot, even like years back.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So, oh God, dude, I miss Blacksburg. I should really do miss Blacksburg. Like the nature.
Yeah.
The nature and
I think I used like, if Blacksburg was like a sponge, I feel like I fully like soaked it up and then I unranged it.
Right.
And I feel like it's back at like a clean slate.
Okay.
Like I don't want to go back to there and go through like years again. Like I want to go to like their medical school, like even apply.
Right.
But I'm looking for that in the next area of my life. Like I feel like Nova is kind of like my baseline, like my starting point. I'm ready to find that next point where I'm ready to have all those experiences once again.
Exactly. I mean, it may not even be in America. I mean, let's see. Do you see yourself living in America your whole life?
I honestly see myself having many homes.
Okay.
And kind of traveling between multiple, staying at a few for a set period of time, and then just traveling to the next one.
Gotcha. Okay.
And that could be anywhere.
So multiple properties across the world. I mean, that's the beauty of it.
Yeah, I mean, you got to experience each and every vibe
and you
that
want to have a
the planet
baby
has to offer.
in each land, right? You want to spread your feet, you know, you want to spread your genetics.
I mean, that's a whole
Right.
another conversation. But yeah,
Right,
ultimately,
right,
like
right.
in terms of living somewhere, I feel like I need to at least experience everywhere, at least for like one night. You know, I
Exactly.
feel like you can get a lot from a whole like vacation trip. But having lived most of my entire life in Virginia,
Right.
I don't even know what to say about that.
Yeah. See, and then, okay, and see that's okay, and that's the difference. Okay, I think between you and I is like, because I spent half my life in Colorado and I spent half my life in Virginia.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until recently when I was starting to talk to my sister's friends that I realized, like, I think, like, I knew my time in Virginia was ending. I knew it, and I knew it was coming to an end. But I didn't think that my time in Virginia would come to an end that quickly.
In Colorado or Virginia?
No, in Virginia.
Huh.
But the thing is, now I'm yearning to go back to Colorado.
Oh.
I don't know why. Now there's something
gotcha.
that's pulling me. Because to be honest with you, I feel like, okay, you know how you say that we've dominated Virginia Tech, we've dominated here, and we have. And I think our time here, I think we've dominated Virginia. I think we've dominated. The thing is, for me, I came from Colorado. I didn't dominate Colorado. I was not like anywhere near.
I mean, you're so young.
Exactly, I was so young. So now I just feel like there's like this yearning for me to just go back and see possibly like what I've missed. You know, I don't know.
But how would you go about dominating the next like state or area if we're not doing it in school? Like, I feel like with school you have such objective measurements in terms of like your success.
Exactly.
But how exactly like beyond school in general?
And see, that is so just unknown right now. I mean, like
it's whatever you make of it.
Exactly, it's whatever you make. And so that brings up the question of like for med school and stuff. Okay, so like what exactly are your thoughts? Okay, so because obviously we're both pre-med students and whatnot. So what are your thoughts on med school now with the whole NFT project going on and it's taking off and it hopefully it goes down a very successful path. And when it does go down a successful path, what's going to be your thoughts for med school in the future?
Yeah, I would say ultimately it comes down to the decision of how much value do you want to provide to the world around you.
Okay.
I feel like medical school, it sets you up to be able to provide that very intimate one-on-one relationship with like the patient, where you're ultimately trying to save people's lives. And that is very meaningful. But the path to get there is very rigorous and it's very long. As opposed to like this NFT, I would say Web3 in general. With that, you can potentially do so much in such little amount of time. And I would say it really has no like final like chapter where it's going to be continuously developing and you can continue down whichever route is meaningful to you. And you can contribute both like to the customers or like the community, but also like the people that are also in your kind of like founder stage where they're trying to develop in their own unique path, and you can kind of like connect with them and maybe have a huge share of like impact on people, but it's not as depth. Like it's like more width rather than depth.
Okay.
So I feel like that has been an internal like debate that I've had within myself.
Okay.
And I would say I really do enjoy the idea of like learning about the body and like ultimately creating some kind of project, good or service that improves people's abilities to improve their own health.
Okay. And so do you think that's where Bouras could potentially take place?
I think Bouras could take place there. I think a lot of other things that are not even currently like at the stage.
And so, and it's funny, because I got a text message from Socket.
Yeah, me too. I got a call.
Yeah. And he was like, so how long is Bouras going to be in the back burner for? And I told him about the NFT project. I was like, okay, so one of my like primary reasons why I'm doing this NFT project with you is in hopes of gathering enough income to fund Bouras, because I feel like Bouras has a very bright future of itself, but we just don't have the funding for it.
I mean, I was even thinking like Bouras can go in any route
any direction.
Like think about it right now. We see those commercials for like pharmaceutical products.
Exactly.
And there's some random commercial of like people like in a bath or something like that, like on the beach walking around. I mean, in the metaverse, like in like virtual reality, like imagine like a company wants to sell their drug. We can show an actual like objective diagram of like how it's working within your own body, within like different organ systems, etc. We can like put that as like an advertisement. Right now, like that's an idea that I'm sure like not a lot of people are even thinking about.
I mean, see, and that right there is the future. I mean, see, the thing is, so think about it like this, like go to the 1970s, okay, right? And I just came up to you, I'm like, hey, do you know what the internet is? Like, have you heard about this? Okay, that's like the thing now. Hey, have you heard of the metaverse? Like, what's this metaverse? I mean, the metaverse is the future, and there's no doubt in my mind that the metaverse is going to be the future and it's going to take off completely. The thing is, will that medical aspect be a part of it? And I'm sure there will, and that's why I'm saying that Bouras can somehow intertwine with this metaverse.
It seems like the world and the internet combined are going to be replicated on the metaverse in a more like, let's say like right now it's all 2D.
Right.
This is going to be like a 3D and potentially 4D environment. And it's pretty much going to be like whatever is like working right now, you find whatever's working, you replicate it, and you add some kind of extra twist to make it more meaningful and like impactful.
Right.
And that opens the door to unlimited amounts of possibilities.
Right.
And that's why I think we're trying to maybe replicate what's worked in the past, and it's just going to lead us down the direction of ultimately finding whatever's working that hasn't even like been thought of before.
Exactly. And here's the thing, like within our like future, within our time development, I mean, we still got a lot of time, obviously. Like we
So
still
much
have a lot of
time.
time. We still have
Maybe like hundreds of years.
Exactly. I mean, like, dude, like, the thing is, I didn't realize everyone was like, "Oh man, you're so young," and I'm like, to be honest with you, I didn't even know what that meant. Like, what does it mean to be so young?
Yeah.
It means like we still have a lot of time to accomplish a lot of things. That's what it means.
Yeah. I thought about that recently.
Right.
Like, let's say everything I would say started with the MCAT daily prep, where I spent like hundreds of dollars, and from that I was able to get a job like through creating that like that service. I met Michelle, and she referred me to my job, which has earned me thousands of dollars.
Right.
I put those thousands of dollars into this NFT project, which should earn me hopefully hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I put that hundreds of thousands, etc., and keep on building from there.
Like Bouras and into other things. Exactly.
So I feel like just that steady progression and not getting so caught up on the stress about each step,
Right.
and realizing like I'm on an actual like solid path. It's not like I'm jumping past steps that actually like have to happen.
No, it's just go flow. You gotta just go with the flow.
Yeah,
Go with
and that's something that like mentally I've definitely had to come to grasp.
Right. I mean, dude, the whole thing with, I mean, Bouras. I mean, do you think Bouras was like your starting point?
I'll say like MCAT daily prep, and even before that.
Okay, MCAT daily prep was the starting point. So
Yeah.
then, do you think from MCAT daily prep, that's when the whole that's when the whole idea of Bouras pretty much had.
Yeah, I mean MCAT daily prep, and then there's interview daily prep, and that was like this around the same time.
Oh wait, how is that going? Interview daily prep?
I have to get beta testers. I've kind of put it on hold. But honestly, like that is like my goal of using voice processing and like natural language like comprehension.
And this is just for like
some kind of
right.
It takes in your spoken word, and it understands it and like kind of compares it to written like kind of interview questions,
Right.
and it shows you like a pre-generated response that you have set as like an ideal answer.
Gotcha.
But that at its core is ultimately I want to be able to go to other countries with different languages. I want to wear like earphones that take in their like native language,
and it translates,
and so I can hear it in English, and I can speak English, and they hear it in some other language.
There's no doubt in my mind that is the future. Like that will be.
That will allow us to travel anywhere.
Exactly. That's the beauty of that. I mean, just thinking about everything though, like just thinking about how everything has started in terms of progression. What are your thoughts on like on our team?
I mean, it's interesting how much geography has to play in everything.
Exactly.
I feel like growing up in like high school, we took geography classes. We didn't really think much about it, but at the end of the day, no one on this team would have come to be if we didn't live in this area. Exactly. We weren't born in this area, like whatever areas we were born in, and converged into this one like kind of location, whether it be Nova or Blacksburg or what have you. Yeah. And that honestly is kind of beautiful.
It's great. I mean, even talking about like the back end team, like we have people from Sri Lanka, we have people from like
Europe, we have South Latin American.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
A whole bunch of different continents.
A whole bunch. I mean, even our team here is pretty diverse. Immigrant mentality. Okay, so going back to the whole immigrant situation. Okay, wait. Your parents. Okay, so your mom is Polish and Lithuanian, and your dad is Greek.
Yeah.
Their parents, were they immigrants from those countries? So they came from those countries, and they came. So that means you would be. So you're second gen.
Yeah, it's interesting. My mom's dad.
Okay.
He had the opportunity to buy like a ton of land in Pennsylvania where like all of the Polish people live, but he was such like a strickler on like he wants to hold all of his money in case a rainy day comes and he gets injured.
Really?
And so he gave up like literally paying like pennies to buy land, and like that land today was pretty much like near Pittsburgh and stuff like that.
Oh my gosh.
So I don't know. It seems like.
So you're just like learning from all these mistakes.
My family has made choice decisions that have not played out too well.
Gotcha. Okay. And then what about your dad?
My dad, bro.
My dad.
I visited my family a lot in Boston,
and
they always seem very old, and to the point where like they're kind of declining with time, to the point where I want to really have kids at a younger age so I can really interact with them, and even have like my parents be able to interact with them before it's too late.
Okay, so that's okay. I get what you're saying, and that's very ideal. So, what is your ideal time of finding that someone and settling down and having potential kids?
Bro, I would say it's as soon as I earn financial freedom to the point where I'm not like working to earn a living,
right?
And then I can find the one,
right? The one. Where is that bitch? Right.
That
She's
is
out here somewhere. And that, you know what's funny though? I always think it's funny. It's funny that we're having this conversation because I was just thinking on the way back from the gym today. I was like, you know what? I wonder who is Andrew gonna marry? What girl? I mean, like, what lucky girl? What lucky?
You think about it, like, what girl am I gonna marry?
Right.
To the point where like almost you want to take a step back and like, is Andrew gonna marry someone, or like is Andrew?
Or do you think you're gonna pay some girl, some very genetically defined girl, to have a kid with, and then pay her off, and then just have the child to yourself?
No, dude, I don't even know.
Would you want to do that?
No, dude, I'm all about the love, bro. I don't know about that. But like, does all my love have to go into one individual being?
Right.
And probably it does.
So
at least
are you a lover or a fighter?
I'd say a lover,
Do
bro.
you want to have multiple lovers though? Is that what you're trying to say?
I mean, probably not.
Okay.
I feel like in reality, like practically, doesn't work too well. Because you're taking like, let's say you have a meter of like 100% love.
Right.
And you split that 50-50.
Right.
You're not fulfilling the other person. Like, they need 100% love from
right,
somewhere.
right.
So that means there's other probably like mates, like probably guys that are in the picture. And at that point, it turns weird.
That would just be polyandry.
That gets kind of weird.
So, and you wouldn't. Yeah, that would be. No.
Yeah. I mean,
exactly.
But man, like biologically speaking, you kind of want to spread your genetics in the most diverse ways possible.
Right.
And the only way to do so is to find people from multiple different ethnicities that have different genetic like structures and compositions.
Okay, and so this brings us back to the conversation about having like different families in different areas of the world. Is that something that you're like kind of like a Genghis Khan, but not as like brutal and
not at all like that. This is all like completely consensual.
Consensual, exactly, consensual, 100%. Obviously, but is that something that would cross your mind?
I mean, that's if I live my life.
If you're able to provide for all those families, of course.
If I live my life purely based on like my biological makeup, and be like, all right, this is like how I am, like biologically, like seeing as like species all around the world are acting like this, then I guess that would be the goal. But I think there's a deeper meaning to all of life that is beyond just the purely biological. And I think ultimately comes down to wanting to find love with a single person that you can then spread that love in any kind of meaningful way beyond purely sexual.
I guess, and it also kind of just depends on the environment, I guess, as well. Like depending on which environment you are. I mean, you probably have a different because like say that you have. I mean, this kind of brings us back to like the behaviors and whatnot. Like, does your environment affect you more, or does your genotype affect you greater than your environment does? And what are your thoughts on that? And we'll have this conversation with Ben and I, obviously, but I want to. What are your early thoughts on that?
I mean,
and don't say 50-50.
I'm thinking about like, let's say I wanted to have my genetics spread as diverse as possible, and I own like my own environment where like they can all thrive. At the end of the day, like it does come down to the behavior and like the environment that they're in. I am like one human, and let's say I was the only dad fostering, let's say 100 kids. I'm not being able to spend my time so devotedly with like each and every single one, where like they're almost kind of having a lack of like
love,
in their raising.
Lack of love, a
lack of love. I mean, maybe not a lack of love, but at least like a lack of quality time spent with them. Or I mean, it would be made up in other areas of life. So ultimately, it is like a trade-off, and someone has to make the decision. And I'd be a little selfish if I was the only person that made that decision. But I do think it comes down to I have like a genetic idea of like how much I want my kids to be, or at least like exposed to, and then environmentally, that is just. It's also equally important, but
no, and that's another thing. Okay, this is the other thing. So, I like to pride myself, and I guess Ahmed likes to pride himself. Okay, so we've opened your mind up about the world. Is that right? Would you say that
culturally
we've
for
given,
sure?
Culturally, we've given 100%. You okay. And so what? I want to know something. What were your thoughts on us and our culture? Okay, before and after getting to know us quite well.
Dude, honestly, I had no thoughts about your culture, to be honest, like, at all, before I met you all. Like
You thought I was just a white guy the first time.
I really did. I'm being completely honest, I did. I mean, that just shows you how much like I'm exposed to like my friend group, and from there, that's pretty much how I make my assumptions about life until I'm like met with otherwise.
Right.
I think it's best to meet that kind of like whatever kind of challenges your assumptions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, whether it's like African or whether it's like Middle Eastern, like, I mean, you've met a whole diverse group of people.
But very diverse, including this guy.
Hi.
Namdi.
Nice to meet y'all.
But yeah, I mean that. Okay, so, and now that you have like a different of the Middle East, now you're actually more willing to go and travel there.
I mean, I've always been willing to travel. It's just like I had other things going on. You know, I was trying to graduate through college.
Right,
you know,
right.
I was trying to make a living, trying to become a doctor. You know,
Right,
I was not
right,
even
right.
thinking about.
Doctor, want to be a doctor? So we go to this Indian restaurant, and the guy comes up to Ahmed and he's like, "Are you guys studying?" I'm like, "Yeah. Want to be a doctor?" I'm like, "Yeah, dude, hell yeah." I think you're trying to set Ahmed up with his daughter, bro. Oh,
Hey,
man.
man, bro.
Dude, Ahmed, what are your thoughts on Ahmed?
Bro, he is one of the most interesting people I've ever met.
I know.
I feel like he has a way of extracting life's like purest energy and using it in any way that's like unique to him.
Yes.
And watching that played out is the most entertaining thing.
It is. I mean, this whole thing with this, his Russian, like,
Yeah.
First of all, props to him.
Of course.
Very props. Going up to her, okay. What she did to him though, which was very weird, which was just like ignoring everything he was saying. I mean,
That's weird for sure.
Yeah. And he
Ultimately,
played it off very well.
Yeah.
He did.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's good for him.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I mean, you gotta just trial and error.
Exactly,
You
trial
know,
and error. Yeah.
keep on meeting new people and doing that times maybe 2 times
Right,
3, etc. Until you find the actual one that does it.
Let me ask you a legit question. Okay. What are your thoughts on the girls in our society in this generation? In this generation specifically.
In this, what would you define as the generation?
In this generation. Okay, so anyone that was born from 1997 to now, within that generation, I guess that would be Generation Z.
To now,
To
like today.
Right, to today. Yeah. So basically from 1997, which would be Generation Z, Gen Z, or
That's
Gen Z.
Okay. I mean, there's kids like born today that
Also,
are super young, so I can't really.
So Gen Z versus like previous generations. So like the millennials.
Huh. I would say they're making use of the technology that the
Right.
millennials have created for them
Okay.
to use. Ultimately, like my first thought's like OnlyFans, and I would say that is created by a millennial, and
It was
being,
created. Was yeah. Okay.
it's
Yeah.
being used by Gen
Utilized
Z.
by us. Yeah.
Yeah, whether that was the intended purpose or not, I think that is something that we can't put like judgment onto Gen Z for doing, because who's to say that the millennials would have done that or would have not done that if the generation before them made the tools
Right.
for them to use it.
Exactly. So basically, you're saying that each generation kind of feeds on, and that's very true, because now I was just thinking about this, is that when it comes to our products, our NFTs and whatnot, who's going to be utilizing it? You know who's going to be utilizing it? It's not going to be. I mean, I would say Gen Z. I would definitely say, but it's literally for the generation that's after us, which is the always on generation.
Yeah.
And it's literally called always on generation because they're always
Crazy.
on their technological devices.
You think that's predictive programming in some kind of way? Like, are we almost like saying like before they're even like at that point where they are always on?
Right.
We're almost like kind of pushing them down this funnel. Like, all right, you guys are always on.
We're already labeling them.
Yes,
So yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
And that's what sucks about it, is that because I'm sure not everybody in that generation will always be on their devices.
They're not even always on right now.
Exactly.
It's almost like you're predicting it to be that way.
Exactly. It's like, what's it called? It's called like almost like, I wouldn't even say a negative stereotype, maybe, but I don't know.
Yeah.
It's something like, I mean, we're prejudging them in a way.
I mean, it's almost like you also got to take into consideration like who their parents are. And a lot of their parents are like these millennials,
Right.
which they were like born at the cusp of the internet, and so like they don't really know the parenting techniques that are like used without the internet. So I'll give an example. So like at my clinic where I work, I see these patients come in, like their parents are like, let's say like 30, 35 years old. And these kids, like they start talking and like they're immediately handed an iPad. And on the iPad, they're just so absorbed. They're watching some TV show, they're playing some game. And that I feel like is just feeding them into the direction of being the always on generation.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to say this, like when I was like 4 years old, when I was like 5 years old, 6 years old, I was playing with Pokemon cards. There are kids who are like this age, 6 years old, and they have their like tablets and everything. And I'm just like, good for them. Like they're learning something that I didn't learn until like, but how good is that for their social skills?
So Jake Paul, bro, would you beat him in a fight, in a boxing event?
So here's the thing about Jake Paul. Okay, here's the thing. Okay. When you spend, I don't think we can. It just keeps going.
Yeah, this is nonstop.
So when you train for something for that long of a duration of time, and you're training for 3 to 5 years, of course you're gonna do well in that. I mean, I would hope that you do well in that. You know, I would hope that if you're spending that much time and effort and day in, day out, of course, I hope that you're getting good at boxing, that you can hopefully become professional, especially if you're putting your whole existence into it. What just doesn't make sense to me is, I mean, and this is where you kind of gotta give him the credit, is how he's knocking out people who have done this for a majority of their lives.
But have they had the financial ability to devote their entire lives to this, or are they also struggling like paycheck to paycheck, but they're worried about their rent? You know, like Jake Paul is probably not worried about where he's going to pay his like mortgage, you know? Exactly.
And he's developing such a, I mean, like if you were to compare Tyron Woodley to Jake Paul at like when 24 to 24, I mean, they're both like 24 years old right now, or Jake Paul's 24. If we were to get Tyron Woodley and compare his 24 self, I mean, no, there's just no way. There's no, I mean, he was probably broke he was broke. I mean, he grew up very poor.
Yeah.
You know, he didn't have money like Jake Paul.
But you can't put Jake Paul down for that.
No, definitely not. He's making good use of his money. He's using it to his advantage. He's beating people who have won world titles, which is impressive. But he's also finding people that are not really in his league. He needs to find an opponent that's, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
You gotta find someone that challenges you.
But at what point can you find someone that has like equal variables in every single range to make it the most fair fight possible?
That's true, and that's hard because there's never going to be an equal set.
Yeah.
Because like even then, like he still had. I mean, it's even hard to find someone that's like physicality like the match. He still had a 2-inch advantage. He was tall. He was 6'1". Tyron Woodley.
Bro, he needs to fight an AI. Like a robot that has like the same.
Okay, all right, and so that brings up another conversation. Okay, that brings up another conversation with AI. Okay, we're both pre-med. We're both studying to become doctors. At what point does AI replace doctors?
Bro, I think sooner rather than later.
Okay.
I really do think that is at the forefront of people's concerns, is their livelihood and like their health. And if you can get robots in there to maximize your outcome in terms of like your longevity, I think that is going to be something that happens before pretty much anything else. I think it's one of the hardest problems that you can solve, but I think it's at the forefront of a lot of people's like bucket lists to earn.
It's true. Yeah. I mean, here's the thing, is that when it comes to, surgical aspects. Okay. So, I mean, if AI is going to be used, it's not going to be used for one-on-one consultation. I don't think so.
I think it will.
I think eventually, but I think the first thing that AI is going to be used for is for surgical techniques.
I think that would take longer to implement.
Really? You think then?
Okay. I think a lot of people are working towards that, like Gunner.
Gunner! Oh my God. You guys got to meet this guy, Gunner.
We'll get him on the podcast one day.
One day we should, oh my God, we should actually have a podcast. You know, but I'm afraid like he might do some weird shit.
It's all right. Yeah, so people like him are working towards the surgical aspects.
Right.
And we went to the SAGES conference, the Society of American Gastroenterology and Endoscopic Surgeons.
Yes.
SAGES. And they were all very focused on like these robotic like laparoscopies, where they're pretty much like putting a scope in you or some kind of like tools in you, and they're not really making a whole like full-on cut and incision to like see everything from the outside. They're kind of watching a monitor and controlling it within the tiny robots inside.
Gotcha.
And so things are going in that direction, which it still takes manual labor, and you're still like going to be a surgeon just using the certain tools. But when it comes time for robotics to fully replace the surgeon, that is something like you're seeing like Neuralink work towards that, where it's so reproducible.
Right. And that is, okay. And so that is, and if by the time you, say that you go through med school, you want to become a surgeon, okay, that's like what,
10 years from now.
10 years from now, essentially. Okay, right.
Yeah.
So 10 years from now, do you think that AI will have been taken off and it's so far ahead of its time that it's able to actually complete surgeries?
Well, I think it depends also.
Not even
like
hardcore surgery. I'm not even talking about open heart surgery. I'm just talking about like regular, like maybe like endoscopies possibly, or just.
So I think it's gonna be a slow and like gradual progression. But let's say like it takes 4 years for med school, 4 years for residency, and like let's say 2 years for fellowship. I think by the time we get to like fellowship, then you're gonna be doing fellowships using robotics. It's not like you're going to be doing the same thing that's currently set up right now, and then robotics are going to just take
Or
your
just
job.
replace you, right?
Eventually, like the
You're
robotics
gonna
are going to be
using
used
robotics.
in your training.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
But eventually, that's kind of like just taking away less and less of your kind of specialized skill.
Right.
And at some point, you're pretty much just being a technician to either filling the computer with data sets, or you're actually like just making sure that it's operating based on your own kind of clinical judgment.
Right.
But I still think it's meaningful. Though.
Like manipulating the numbers to conduct it, to make sure the robot is conducted or the AI. Whatever.
I mean, at that point, I don't even know. Like, let's say there's a tumor that you want to like resect, then you have like a computer that like determines where the tumor is based on like radiology images, and that's not really using the doctor at that point. And then at some point you have to like actually remove it, and is that going to be done by a computerized surgeon, or is it going to be done by maybe one guy that only does these surgeries, and he's like in like Italy and he's controlling it based like through a Da Vinci that's like in a different continent? I mean, like at some point it's almost like my time is better used contributing towards like the AI side of things than the actual like surgery.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know.
So that's where Gunnar. I mean, that is actually where Gunnar's.
He made that decision.
Gunnar will come into play there. That's crazy. Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure it'd be interesting to find out like exactly like why he made that decision, and like what led him to do that, because he was also on the pre-med path.
He was pre-med, yeah. And he did very well in the MCAT, actually.
Yeah, and so he's probably gonna do well like in anything that he actually puts his time and effort to. Yeah. And I'm glad that people are actually putting their like energy towards this one idea of like the surgery for AI and like, health. But is that what's best use of our time? I mean, like we have specialized skills based on like no one else. You know, we're very unique individuals as like everyone else is. So at what point do we have to narrow in like exactly like what is our purpose here?
Pinpoint it. Exactly. That's very true. I mean, everyone has their own purpose, and to be honest, I still think that we are both trying to find our purpose still. I mean, we still haven't quite exactly pinpointed it. Okay, this is exactly what I'm going to do for the rest of the month. And here's the thing. Here, okay, at least for me right now. Okay, and this it might be just as well for you. That we're both still in this time of our lives where we don't know where we can say where we'll be in 1 year. I mean, is that right? There's 100%. A beauty to that. There's a beauty to that, but there's also just a little bit of anxiety that comes to that, because then you're just like, oh, dude, like I just want to know where I'll be.
Dude, at this point, I don't even want to know.
You don't even
thinking about where I am today versus 1 year ago today.
NFTs,
that is such a roller coaster.
If you would have said that I'd be working on NFTs with you,
I would be rich if I knew what I was doing today. I would have invested in all these different projects.
Exactly.
And I probably would not be here where I am today. I'd be like on some beach chilling.
Exactly.
But that's probably not for the best.
With this project. That's the goal. That's the exact goal of this project.
That is not necessarily the goal. I mean, I think I say that's my goal, you know?
Right.
But am I really going to be satisfied living on a beach on like my own island at the age of 23 until like I die at whatever age? You know? At some point, I feel like I have a greater purpose that I'm going to get bored of that. I'm going to use it. I'm going to definitely like enjoy it.
Right.
But at some point I'll have like an internal drive. Like I have to be doing something.
Something fulfilling. You can't, exactly.
But having the stressors,
fulfillment.
Having the stressors removed that like finances ensue in my life.
Right.
And not having to work 8 hours, like clock in for 8 hours a day.
Bullshit job.
Yeah.
Sucks.
That will really, that's all I want at this point.
Okay, so let me rephrase that then. This project, this NFT project, is to avoid that 9-to-5 nonsense, working for the man job.
I think it is a step in that direction.
Exactly.
It's going to happen as soon as possible, ideally, but we don't want it to like be forced.
No.
Because like right now we kind of use Bouras in the 9-to-5 job. The two are kind of overlapping.
Overlapping a little bit, right?
And like this past week, I took off Friday, Monday, and Tuesday. So I worked a four-day week, and this week I'll work a 3-day week. And ultimately, I kind of see that as being like the near future of like my reality, where let's say I start making some money through like these other side projects, then I will just start like scaling back my time and like my necessity, like my need in these jobs. And at some point, I will not even be needed, but I'll kind of doing it out of like the love of my heart.
Exactly.
You know, like, I'll be doing it because it's fun or I enjoy it.
Exactly.
But I'm not at that point quite yet.
Right. And so, and then that's where we're progressing towards, obviously. So, I mean, that's the beauty of, and that's like I said, this is the beauty of this whole NFT project, is that this will allocate funds to fund Bouras, and then Bouras, I think Bouras is going to lead to other things. That's what I think.
I think ultimately we need 3D artists to be creating anything. And at some point, like we have to just kind of position their products in like whatever market.
Okay. And you know what's so funny? Okay. Like 5 years ago, you would have asked me, you would have been like, hey man, like you were just going into college, you're like, hey, what should I major in? I would have told you, I would have been like, hey man, the money, this is where it's at. Go be a doctor, go into engineering, or go into law, those are so traditional now, where nowadays in this society, the real money right now is either in IT, graphic design, 3D art, like just 3D arts. Like this is like, I mean, this.
I'm gonna be honest,
this.
I think that is where good money is,
Right.
but I saw like the highest paid, or I heard this somewhere that like in 2020 it was like yield farming. Like
Yield farming.
do you even know what that means?
Yield farming?
It's like you're maximizing like your DeFi profits or something like that. Like you're using your
Wait,
profits.
like farming is in like
not
actual,
physical farming.
not
No,
physical.
this is all like with cryptocurrency.
Okay.
And then like 2021 was like these like JPEG, like PNG NFTs. Like you're
Right.
buying them, flipping them, or creating them yourself.
Right.
So these are the jobs that are like literally like some of the highest paying in the world.
Right.
And this seems like the area that we need to start immersing ourselves in,
Yeah.
because eventually we'll stumble upon the people that are figuring out like in the moment that, oh, DeFi or like yield farming is very profitable. And then like, oh, I'd never heard of that. Let's like look into that. But we'll look into that in like March of
Exactly. When it's
2020,
already like
as
bypassed.
opposed to like
Right.
January of 2022.
Exactly. And so when it comes to the NFT business, I mean, obviously me and you don't know anything about creating an NFT. Like I don't know.
I know a little bit, yeah.
Like, how do you create an NFT? Like how does one, like what would you have to major in college to learn? Like would it just be graphic design? Like
If you want, yeah. I'm sure there's a lot of people that in the world that could create it without school. You know, at some
Right.
point you really just got to create some kind of art. And for us, we're creating these individual assets. So like, let's say we have the sea goat and the
Right.
base character is one asset. The horns are a second asset.
Right.
Like the mouth is the third.
Right.
You create everything individually that like can be like layered upon each other to create the final outcome.
Exactly.
And this is like kind of like the idea of like the profile pictures right now.
Right.
But we're working in the direction of 3D art, and that's where things kind of get different. You know, like I don't know how much more complicated it is, if it is more complicated
Right.
to create 3D models like of characters, but at some point that's definitely the direction that we're going to be moving in.
Gotcha. Yeah. I mean that. Okay. So within our time, within our like our drop set time, obviously. Okay. So within making the switch to Ethereum, what kind of technological like aspects are having to be changed on the back end team?
On the back end, they have to make the smart contracts in the ERC, whatever kind of tokens. I don't personally know a whole lot about that. Luckily, we have some skilled individuals that are like, that's their passion. But I know that using Ethereum opens up doors for the DAO and like the decentralized.
And that is one of our end goals.
That is, I would say,
The end
a
goal.
huge end goal. I don't know. Like, do you have actual like objective like end goals that we're trying to strive towards? I feel like at this point,
for this, it would be a DAO. Definitely.
I feel like with the DAO, we form like an organization that can collectively make the decisions on like what the end goal actually is.
Let me ask you a question. Because it's decentralized and whatnot, and we can't get taxed.
We can get taxed, I think.
But then,
I think you have to.
That's what makes it so beautiful, that it's decentralized, autonomous organization.
That's the thing. I mean,
right.
I've heard more experienced people discuss this, and they say that it's best to make yourself an LLC, so that let's say if you're doing these bounties or like what's known as like the gig economy, and you make the profits from that and you put that into your own like kind of like bank account, that then like you're kind of held without your like limited liability.
Gotcha.
If that makes sense. Yeah, that's something I need to look deeper into.
Yeah.
I know like you can register a DAO in like Wyoming right now, but that's more so for investment purposes. It's not a whole lot about what we're trying to do.
Right. Okay, so the DAO is one of our end goals, indeed.
Yeah, for sure.
Indeed it is, my friend. But okay, so listen. Okay. In the future, okay, the future, when this project is very successful and we're having a good amount of income to fund these other projects, and we have a good amount of income coming from the stem of this NFT project, okay? Obviously, one of your main goals was, or not made up goals, but main desires was to go and travel, okay? Say everything is all set in stone. What is the first place that your heart wants to go to travel?
I would take a week or so and go on like a silent retreat out in probably Puerto Rico or Costa Rica. I want to experience the rainforest, and then I would come back, take my family to Greece and let them experience the roots of the
Okay.
family.
Yeah.
And then I would come back and I would take my friends on a vacation, probably out to Colorado or like Arizona or so,
Okay.
the West.
Yeah.
Maybe like Nevada or not Nevada, Montana. To like
Yeah.
experience like those national parks.
Yes.
And then I come back and I reevaluate my
Then we
life.
restart. It's a good cycle.
I would do myself, then my family, then my friends.
Yeah.
and then restart.
Yeah, definitely. I mean okay, so Colorado, okay? I mean, what are your thoughts on Colorado?
Colorado is just another state to me. I mean, honestly, it has like higher priority than like North Dakota, for example.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it's just another state that I've never been to and I want to experience, you know?
Yeah, dude, I mean, like I said, I was born there and I didn't get to see the beauty in it because I was so young.
Yeah.
And now there's something that's wanting to pull me back into this place.
So what are your parents' thoughts on Colorado?
Dude, they don't like it.
Really?
They don't
Not
like
at all?
They went to visit. They liked it they liked it a lot, but we had to move. They loved it before we moved. But then they went to go visit after we had moved and they didn't like it anymore. And the reason why they didn't like it is because now they're saying that it's so crowded. And I'm like, why is it so crowded? It's like, oh, because of the fucking weed business and whatnot. It's just attracted people from all over. A lot of people from New York. Like you go to Colorado, you're not going to just see Colorado bumpers.
That's kind of what they're known for.
Right. You're going to see, exactly. You're going to see New York because Colorado was one of the first states in America to get legalized. I never forget when I was in 8th grade at the time when it happened. I mean, that's a long time. Virginia is just now getting legalized.
Yeah.
So
that's crazy.
just imagine, I mean, like the Colorado's economy must be like incredibly good.
You think they're almost dependent upon the weed at that point?
I would say that a large portion of their economy success is coming from marijuana.
Yeah.
100%. I mean, you've been in the business for that long. Since I was in 8th grade. Like that's like at least like
that's
a long time.
Wild.
That's a long
and you're getting
time.
way more people that come to the state.
Exactly. I mean, you see people from New York, Florida. I mean, it's crazy.
So you think it's more of like a place you want to visit and like travel to, and then maybe
live,
go home?
So here's the thing. I would love to go live in the rural aspects, possibly. For me these days, I don't know why, but I don't like suburbs. For me, I can either live in a very rural area or the very big city.
I guess
nothing in between.
I guess the goal would be to find somewhere that's rural and you stay there long enough for it to become suburban. That's kind of like what happened with my parents.
That's very true. That's actually very true. And you can even think of at some point, okay, obviously this was pretty long ago. Nova was that rural place.
Yeah.
Because it's just getting bigger and bigger each time.
Huge.
I mean, dude, every time we visited from Virginia Tech, we would come back and I would see another building. I was just like, okay, what the fuck is going on here? This is crazy. And not only that, okay, and here's the thing, is like there is so many immigrants.
Yeah.
So many immigrants. And
okay,
and here's the thing, this is weird. This is really weird. This is a huge turnaround point for me, is that when I came from Colorado, I was like the only like quote unquote brown kid in Colorado. Like I was like in my high school or whatever, I was literally I had very black hair, like that, like way like blacker than this. Like, and I was the only kid who had very, very black hair. And that's when I was like yearning for like, oh damn, I really want to be able to think like my culture, but now for whatever reason, because I've spent so much time being surrounded by like people like me, like immigrants, now I would like to go back to the Colorado native side and kind of witness like true like American, like, I don't know. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, it's weird. It's very weird. I don't know why, but that's just my opinion now.
So is that something you want to experience short term? Is that what you really want to surround yourself with?
I have no idea, because I thought long term I'd want to always surround myself with like my cultural people or like other immigrants. But now I'm kind of shifting away from that, and now I'm wanting to go back. Like I just need a change, I guess. And then maybe from there I'll need to change again.
Yeah, I mean, like personally, I would find it weird if I was surrounded by people that like had a Greek 50% and then Polish 25 and Lithuanian 25. Just only being surrounded by people that are so similar to me ethnically. That would be just like, it's almost like a too cookie cutter, like too well like confined.
Exactly.
So I think I kind of like am at my best when I'm surrounded by people that are unique in their own kind of ethnicity, that are upbringing. Because at that point you get the most varied amount of like I guess contributions.
Right. And don't get me wrong, dude. Like I love the beauty of like being surrounded by like people that are, for example, Ilis. Like I speak the same language as Ilis. We both speak Farsi, and that's kind of like another reason why we were able to like bond so well. But like I said, there's also a change that's needed, because
Yeah.
at one point you're going to be, here's the thing, at one point you're going to be surrounded by so much entropy, and eventually all that entropy is going to turn into quote unquote equilibrium. Now it's going to be, now that entropy is just gone. The entropy is gone. And that's when you need to relocate into another place with tons of entropy and tons of like excitement and tons of energy, and make equilibrium there.
I do feel that.
Yeah.
I feel like I've hit equilibrium at my like current spot.
Right.
That's why I'm pushing so hard.
Exactly.
With, like,
You want to go
business
somewhere
building.
you want to go somewhere else.
Yeah, because that'll open the door to more, but it's also causing like some internal entropy, just like based on like what I'm devoting my time
Okay,
towards.
and that's another thing. So society says that entropy is positive, right? And that we want entropy. Okay, but do we want entropy internally or do we want it externally?
I feel like if you have entropy internally,
It's not good. Like,
it's almost cancerous.
Demons. Like, you're getting to that point. So yeah, so you wouldn't want that. You wouldn't want that.
I mean, I think at the end of the day, it's like everything in balance. Like everything, like you have equal shares of everything. You have like enough entropy internally that it's challenging you to grow and never become like stagnant with like where you're currently at.
Right.
But at the end, like you really don't want to be too much entropy inside or too much outside.
Right, exactly. You want to find that.
How do you find that balance?
That balance, and that, I don't know, and that's where other people come in and hopefully make that balance for you. And,
I think so.
It's the thing, when, okay, it's funny. Okay, so here's the thing. I have a friend, Jimmy, okay? My friend Jimmy in Colorado, he was like my only friend in Colorado. I swear to God, he was my only friend. And he calls me, he's like, bro, I just broke up with my girlfriend. I'm like, okay. And so he was telling me his story, and how she broke up with him. And I was like, okay, so this kid has like a lot of entropy right now. He's like a lot of demons, he's fighting these demons. And I told him, I was like, listen, bro, you need, okay, so I told him, first of all, I was like, she made a rash decision breaking up. It was very rash. I can go on the story, but just all in all, it was very rash.
Did he understand that? Or did
he knew. I was like, there's no way that this girl thought this through. She didn't think it through, okay? Because you guys worked together for 2 years, all of a sudden she just fucking breaks up with you. And I told him, I was like, dude, this girl cannot be trusted, unfortunately, because she makes rash decisions like that. She's insecure about something and she's not good, right? So I told him, I was like, she's gonna come back to you. She's going to want to come back to you. I was like, maybe not now, maybe not in a week, maybe not 2 weeks, maybe not even a month, 3 months, 4 months. I told him that she was gonna come back. And I got a call from him yesterday. It's like, hey man, so I'm back with the girl. I'm like, oh my God. And the reason why I knew that was gonna happen was because same thing fucking happened to me. The same exactly happened. And you were there witnessing all that.
Yeah.
And that was a whole fuck ton of entropy that someone else had brought me.
Yeah.
I mean, there's entropy from an external source is one thing if you ask for it, but if it's being brought upon you unwillingly, that's just when your whole world can be toxic. And that's where it's hard to find that equilibrium.
Yeah, just kind of like fight back a little bit.
Yeah.
Would you say that for like your friend in Colorado's sake?
Yeah.
If he recognizes like they spent 2 years together and they enjoyed it, and then she maybe had this rash decision,
Right.
is it best to kind of like recognize that this is not necessarily like a character fault of this person, but they're kind of growing and like fighting their own demons, that once they're slain, like this is kind of like the one that you gotta stick with.
Here's the thing, you're right. And here's the thing, everybody fights demons. Everybody has demons. Okay, every person has demons. Just some, and this is a quote from David Goggins. Are you laughing because I'm quoting David Goggins?
No, I was looking at him taking the glasses
dude,
off.
I'm really quoting David Goggins where he was like,
that's good.
He was like, dude, some people, everybody has demons, but some people are just better at hiding their demons better than others. Some people are just better at hiding their fucked up world than other people. I definitely pride myself in the fact that I am able to fucking hide my demons and like have a straight face. Internally, I mean, you know, I'm not gonna just let my demons like take control. I'm fighting each one every day. Obviously.
But is your mask that you're putting on in front instead of your demons coming out? Is that also just another like layer of your demons? You know, like you're kind of like signifying in some way that you are fighting demons. Yeah. And this is just your defense mechanism.
Exactly, the defense mechanism. So. Because the thing is, if people know that I'm fighting demons, if people know that I'm like going through like a battle or something, internally, there are fucked up people in this world that would take advantage of you on that. And be like, hey, this kid is going through a hard time. You know, there are people like that, and I've had to come across people.
But there's also people that are the opposite of that.
Exactly.
So like at what point, So like what point?
Which is why I was able to open up to you about my whole breakup, and you helped me through that. You helped me through that a lot, obviously. So you were definitely like, you were there, obviously, and Ahmed was there as well. But then there are other people who just, you know, obviously weren't there, and like would take advantage of that situation.
Yeah. I mean, like, what do you do about that? You have to like.
For me, if I just see someone that I just don't fuck, I just cut them off. Like instantly. I just cut them off.
But you have to be open enough to let them come into your life in order to make that decision in the first place. I guess you can't really keep a judgeful kind of like outlook on like every single person that enters your life.
Right.
You have to kind of keep them as like a glass half empty or half full.
Exactly.
Kind of like either one.
Exactly.
And then you take it from there.
Exactly. I mean, I don't like to make rash decisions like when I like completely exit, like when I completely block someone out of my life.
Yeah.
There has to be a very good reason for me to have done this.
Then let's say like someone new enters your life and they're like your first impression of them is them facing their demons in some way that it leaves a negative imprint on you.
Right.
And then would you make a rash decision and be like, all right, this one person, like they made this one choice that like
okay, well then again, so that's primacy bias essentially. Okay,
yeah.
right, and that's
yeah, can't argue against that.
Right, and that's something that I actually, to be honest with you, that is interesting. I wouldn't have judged the whole person on just that one like day. Yeah. I mean, if it's like on several occasions and they're acting, that's different. That's different. I mean, you're seeing a pattern and you're able to like, okay, recognize this pattern and you're able to like, okay, you know what? Yeah, this person might not be good. But if that one person was acting this day and then differently on this day, and then it's continually to progress in a linear fashion towards like happiness and greatness and prosperity, then I can't, that's a whole different story.
I do think it kind of comes down to people being like kind of conscious of like their present moment, where like they can recognize, oh, this is my first time meeting this person. Like they may not always be like this. And like, this is kind of what may or may not be happening to them behind the scenes. And you're able to like kind of recognize that before you make that rash decision.
Exactly. So
I think ultimately it really does come down to like how conscious are you of like your present moment.
Right. And that's another thing. I feel like especially when it comes to people in our society, I mean, our generation is so technological based, obviously, like through Instagram. And this is another reason why we're both off Instagram, I think, is because, like I said, people only show their secondary self on Instagram. You'll never get someone's primary self on Instagram. No one on Instagram is going to show that they're battling demons. What they're going to show is they're going to show that they're having a great time with their friends, or they're doing very well, or they're just acing their classes, and nothing is about them.
I think some people do like show the primary self, or like they show that they're facing their demons. Yeah, I'm not generalizing. But they are looked down upon in some sort of way. They're just not like, they're put into like the other group.
Right. And here's the thing, you're right. And if someone is showing their demons and is physically battling someone, you have bad people on that platform that are judging them for that.
Yeah, because at some point, like, why are you like showcasing this on Instagram when this is not necessarily like what Instagram is like? They may be thinking that it's not built for that, just because no one else is really doing that. In reality, it's not. It's built for any purpose. So you're judging like their reasoning.
Exactly, and that's the stigma behind Instagram, is that we really don't know what that platform is really used for.
It's built for whatever you want it to be
used for. It's what but people have it as a flex app. Okay, it's not a flex app. It's just to store memories. In my opinion, it's just to have a good time and store memories and see what other people are doing in their lives. Yeah. Truthfully.
Why do you think people go to like resort to flexing on it? Like, is that some kind of human nature?
Oh, no. It's just an insecurity that people have. It's that insecurity that people want to be this person, so they try their hardest to be that and to attribute that person on their platform, because they know deep down they can never be that person.
So do we need Instagram to kind of play that role in our lives to showcase that is exactly like part of human nature, at least like in terms of our generation?
I think it's a good thing in a way. Because obviously me and you have caught on to a pattern. So maybe there's just no way that only me and you have caught on. There has to be a lot of other people that have gone onto this
for sure.
And I think that's where the good in this platform can kind of come. To be honest with you, I'll be honest, there's no good in the platform TikTok.
What think so?
Good can TikTok provide besides mass viewing ability? It has that aspect. But other than that, like, exactly. Things are able to go viral. And not gonna lie, there's been some good things that have been going viral, like the Uyghurs in China, or just like political aspects. It's great, good. But let's be honest, the main thing that goes viral are just a girl with huge tits dancing, doing this, look, doing this.
I think I actually do see some patterns like compared to actual viruses.
Right.
So like they are more incentivized to be less like deadly, less fatal, but more contagious. Right. I think the same is with virality in terms of TikTok, where they want to create content that is going to spread to more people, but in order to do so, it has to be less deep.
Well,
It has to be like
okay,
just
okay. Like
superficial
area,
things that are going to be attracting to like the senses, as opposed to maybe stimulating the mind in some kind of way. And
Right.
we've experienced that directly by seeing people create content that goes viral and there's dancing and showing off their bodies,
Exactly.
as opposed to like people that are sharing like podcasts that are talking about
yeah.
deep like parts of life.
Exactly. I mean, there are people who get that aspect as well. But what I've seen from TikTok primarily is just the fact that people are just using it as a platform to gain clout for their own self-benefit. That's just like, I mean, I've seen it. I mean, that's why people post the things that they post.
Yeah.
That's why there's like
Yeah.
16-year-olds posting. I mean, dude, it's just weird. It's just so weird. I don't even know why this is.
I think we're incentivizing the wrong kind of content.
Exactly.
I think there's something that we can definitely, at least I think the Astral Kingdom is trying to build towards something where come the metaverse,
Yeah.
we're incentivizing people to develop spiritually in whatever way is best for them.
Exactly.
And for the most part, it's not going to be like just kind of flexing your naturally born bodies and everything.
No. But the thing is, don't get me wrong, and that's another thing that we're trying to do as well, is implementing the fitness portion of it into Astral. And that, I believe, fitness can take you anywhere. Like fitness is so vital in a person's life. I mean, how could you be good to others if you're not even good to your own body?
Yeah.
You know, like if you have a shit diet, if you're not like working out, I think that it's absolutely vital that everybody exercises.
I think that's the biggest telltale sign if someone is facing their demons. It's like how they take care of their own body.
Exactly. I mean, and here's the thing, and this is so controversial, but one red flag for me is like if I'm like talking. Okay, so if I'm looking for a girl, if I'm actually like scouting a girlfriend and I have a checkpoint list, and a girl just does not work out. Some people might be like, that's not really a red flag. It doesn't mean anything. Okay, right? You're right. And that doesn't necessarily mean anything. The red flag that I see in that is that maybe what if this person is just not taking care of their body, or like I'd have to see more of their lifestyle to be able to make that judgment.
Yeah, but I'm also going back and forth between like, should I even have like some kind of checklist, or should I purely go based on like feeling? Like if I'm interacting with them and I get a sense that like they're chill and everything like that, and like that's.
And here's the thing. You're very right, and that's what I did. I didn't have a checklist. I was so blind, dude. I was so not blind. I was so unexperienced in that sense that when I met my first girlfriend, I really was like, okay, I'm just gonna go along with my feelings.
So would you have felt that feeling with anyone?
It's quite possible, and it just so happened to be that person. But now that I've been through that whole dilemma, now I'm more like, now I'm kind of like, and again, this is I'm not at all looking for a girlfriend. I'm just saying though, if I am in the future, I do have a few checklists that should be checked. For example, if you're gonna have a good girlfriend, you want to make sure she comes from a good family. That's pretty standard in my opinion. Like you wouldn't want her to come from a broken family. Like, and by broken I mean like her parents are abusive.
But are you supposed to put that person like away in a different box just because they have?
No, definitely not. But you kind of just put that in the back of your mind, you know, and then if it comes out, you know, go back and access it. That way you're like, okay, yeah.
I mean, I would argue that it's worse if someone came from a perfect family where they didn't have any idea.
Right.
Yo.
Johnny!
Johnny. Dude, we're never done.
Are you still on?
It's a never-ending conversation.
All right, okay.
I do have to pee though.
Yeah, go piss, bro.